hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome to another episode of Our Kids Play Hockey. I never get tired of saying that. I'm Lee Elias, joined by Christy Casciano Burns and Mike Benelli. And our guest today is someone who made his mark in the NHL with a playing style that was all heart, grit, and fearlessness. Over an NHL career that spanned 11 years, he earned a reputation for his toughness and willingness to stand up for his teammates, qualities that made him a fan favorite wherever he went. Before his time in the NHL, Zac Rinaldo developed his game in the OHL, skating for the St. Michael's Majors and the London Knights. But today, he's channeling his passion into coaching, recently taking the reins as the head coach for the Pelham Panthers of the Greater Ontario Junior Hockey League. Zac's journey from youth hockey to junior to the draft to the NHL and now the bench offers valuable insight into the full hockey development experience. And his commitment to mentorship and growth continues off the ice, and we're excited to have him here today to share that journey with us. Zac Rinaldo, welcome to Our Kids Play Hockey.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
No, it's good to have you here, Zac. And I meant what I said in the intro. There's a cool journey here that we get to share with our audience, and I know that our audience is going to love it because we can kind of tap on really everything from your own journey to the NHL journey to the coaching journey and to what you look for in hockey athletes today. But let's start with you and your personal story. You left home at 14 years old to pursue your hockey dream.
Yeah.
14 parents. That's either you're there already with your kids or you're not too far off or you're past it. Can you walk us through how you and your family made that decision and maybe what were some of the biggest lessons you learned from taking that leap at a young age?
I was invited to go to Notre Dame in Saskatchewan, Wilcox, Saskatchewan, Notre Dame Hounds, with a friend of mine who's also trying to pursue the hockey journey. And he asked me to tag along with him. And it was, my parents were, it was up to me, totally up to me. It was, Zac, do you want to go? Do you want to leave home? And there was zero hesitation, zero. I didn't have to think twice. It was just, yes. They totally supported what I wanted to do, my decision, and I had a great time. I left home. I grew up really quickly in that year. I was in a dorm with 4 other guys the same age, all doing the same thing. It was Wilcox. The school, it's literally in the middle of nowhere. So there's nothing else to do besides school and hockey, school and hockey, school and hockey. And during that year, you have to do chores and you have a dorm leader. And if you don't do your chores, you can't leave your dorm. So it was a very military style school where you learned a lot, lots of discipline. Again, you're so secluded from everybody, so you just have to deal with what you have. And I grew up very, very quickly. So leaving home at 14, throughout the whole school year, came back basically a year later, and I was a totally different person. So I'm really thankful for that year because I learned a lot. I grew up a lot. I learned how to be self-efficient at a young age, doing, vacuuming, cleaning windows and cleaning the bathrooms and cleaning my dorm and making sure my bed was made. So I learned a lot of life skills doing that. And then on the hockey side of things, I had a really strong competitive team and we won a lot of games. It was a strong, rugged Western hockey competitive atmosphere in every game. So I learned a lot through hockey on the Western side of things. I had a great time. I have no regrets on going there. I learned a lot, lived a lot. So yeah, it was a great time.
So kids can do their chores at 14 is what I heard there, right?
That's a
for all the
tough
parents.
decision, though, right, at that age for a lot of kids. Because, you think about what kids at 14 like to do and ahead going to the junior prom and to, do all the things with your friends in high school. So you do make sacrifices, but that
Absolutely.
was up to you. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Honestly, I wanted to be free. I wanted to get out of my house. I've always wanted the freedom to make my own choices.
Oh.
I wanted the freedom to make mistakes. I wanted the freedom to make my own choices and not have mom or dad direct me or even give me any type of advice realistically. So I wanted that, and that was the first chance I got to have my own freedom as a young kid and make my own choices. So at a young age, I wanted that, and tag into the hockey aspect of it, absolutely, I'm gone.
Interesting. Yeah. And the hockey piece of it, how difficult was it? Because you're going into a whole new environment, new coaches, new players. Everything was so different for you, I'm sure. Was it tough to fit in at first?
Honestly, I on the social side of things, the way I've always conducted myself, I let my hockey speak for who I am at the beginning. So when I'm trying to make new friends, I know that realistically I'm going to make friends that are my teammates first. So I really need to show myself who I am on the ice first, get a feel for them on the ice so they can understand me on the ice. And if I can connect and they can connect with me on the ice, it's just an easier transition off the ice in the dressing room and then outside of the dressing room. So me going into that school and trying out, I had to make sure that I was going to be the hardest worker, one of the best players on the ice, because then that social aspect kind of just gravitated in those situations. So I made sure that I gave my best performance on the ice, so that it was an easier transition in that social aspect of living in those dorms and going to school. But again, like every class I was in, I was with my teammates. So if there was 15 kids in class, 10 of them were my teammates. So balancing hockey and the school and the social aspect, again, the hockey was the foundation. So as long as I was good on the ice and worked my ass off on the ice, I was okay on the social access aspect of things.
Okay. That's good to know for, kids who are kind of debating
Yeah,
whether or not that's right for them. So that's very helpful.
totally,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, so Zach, I think your description, right, of where your youth hockey career was at 14 is basically where all these academy models are going right now, right? So
Right.
you were going through that system. There were probably just a handful of people that could even attract that age of talent, to come and do basically hockey full time, right? Now I
Right.
don't want to say it's being watered down, but there's a lot of other programs that are putting this in place and almost taking and shifting the complete youth hockey model. Can you just talk a little bit about the experience you had versus what you're seeing the development path today for players, and how there's because obviously in our discussions that we have, there'd be a lot of red flags with a 14-year-old leaving for hockey, right? But
Right.
there's also a lot of great things that can happen out of it. Obviously, you turn that into a pro hockey career. I don't know how many players that came in with you were playing pro hockey at the same time, but that piece of development and how it's changed and how it's similar, and maybe some of the pros and cons to it obviously work for you, but
Yeah.
what are some things you should look for because you're coaching youth hockey now. So
Right.
you obviously can tell every 14-year-old you're working with, like, this is a great model for you to pursue.
Yeah, I think like for me, when I was 14 and I went to Notre Dame, again that was a long time ago. So obviously society has changed and we have evolved in different aspects. But I think the foundation that was laid down for me before I went, it was I just worked hard. That's it. It was just my work ethic. And then when I went to that school, there was no difference. They just demanded work ethic. And the development on ice, it was all team related. It wasn't individual skill. So when I was in these situations and it's 2-on-1s, it's breakouts, it's regroups, it's you're always, you know, you're always passing, you're always communicating with your team. There was always a team concept behind it. Not necessarily he's going to be on my team, but when you're in those situations trying out for the team or you're practicing, it was never an individual session. There was no danglers. There was basically not many pylons. It was, use the dots as your guideline, use the circles as your guideline, use the blue line and the red lines as your guideline. It was work ethic. It was somewhat to a degree systems, back checking, fore checking. It was understanding the game on a system level mixed in with making plays and understanding defensive minded hockey. Now, move along forward into where we are right now. It's very individual minded, which I can understand to a degree, but I think you want to develop the individual when they're ready for it. I think everyone develops at a different time. So I think understanding the player and knowing the player as a person first and a player second, to then understand how they need to be developed. Because there's a lot of kids that do have that individual skill, but if you just keep doing the individual skill and individual skill and individual skill, when they get put into a tryout, they need to make a breakout pass or they need to do a 2-on-1 and make that simple 2 foot to 5 foot pass. That's not in their bag. And then they really struggle to share the puck and to make plays. So you really need to understand that player. And I think if you connect with the player and understand what the player needs first and foremost, then you can add on to what the player needs. But it's so, yes, it's individually minded, but you need to understand what that individual needs inside of their game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's where, probably in a structure that you were in growing up, which is what a lot of people like ideally want, right, for their kids, is to be in a high tempo, high skill level group, but also understand that, this is a team sport and your ability to play within a team concept is almost more important than your individual skill, because you can be the best cone guy in the world. Right. If you don't have your head up and can't make a play and your teammates hate you, then there's not a lot of places you can go play. Eventually your clock runs out. And I think
that's right.
You obviously started that journey so early. Back when you were doing, at 14, that's really early. But now we're seeing, these teams get put together at 8. Right. Yeah. So I think it's but so what I see a lot, and maybe I'd love your opinion on this because of your world in the youth hockey ranks right now, is just that when you take that 8-year-old and put them on these super teams, and then that 8-year-old has to then what the parent sees is, oh, they're on the team, they're understanding the team concept, but now I got to extract them with a private coach and do 4 or 5 days privately now with my player, because he's not getting what you're talking about, Zach, which is the team piece. So how do you juggle that? How do you say, well, no, we're working. You are working on individual skill development, but you do have to play on a team, and you can't skate 7 days a week for 2 hours a day. At some point, there needs to be some ratio of rest and rejuvenation, right? So maybe just like, how do you balance that as a coach right now?
Well,
you don't.
Yeah, honestly, I try to stay away from the people calling me asking to do one-on-one sessions, or if there's more than 6 to 8 guys on the ice, that's where I thrive. Yes, I can do individual things, but um, that's not where I thrive as a coach. I don't see the huge benefit. There's too many people doing that right now. There's not enough people like myself that want 20 kids on the ice, that can conduct a 20 kid practice, and it's just me on the ice. I don't need 4 other instructors. And sometimes I don't think that there needs to be 5 instructors with 20 kids. One voice is more than enough, especially when that instructor knows exactly what he's trying to accomplish with the kids. But I try to stay away from the individual skill development. I want to teach them 2-on-1s. I have the patience. I love breaking things down. I was on the ice last night with some 2011s, some 2012s, and mixing some 2010s. And we were just doing simple transitions to the neutral zone. And a lot of them didn't understand that you can't be so far ahead of the other player. You need to be coming up the ice together so you can share the puck together. Because if I give that puck so far ahead of me, that player doesn't have anyone to pass to, and I'm so far behind. So I stay away from the individual skill. I love big groups. I want to conduct full practices. I want defensemen on the ice. I want forwards. I want centermen. I want to teach them the positions. I want to teach them the small, simple details that they're missing in these development small group sessions. It's not talked about it enough. And when you add into the social media stuff, it's rewarding that your instructor will put you on their Instagram page because you really did a cool shot or a cool dangle underneath the pylon. but that's going to have, like, you have the puck on your stick at a young age, maybe for 1 minute during the game. The rest of the time, you're playing away from the puck, you're supporting the puck, you're playing a position, you're trying to understand what's going on. That's 98% of the game. So I want to teach that 98% away from the puck more than I want to teach possession with the puck.
You know,
It is
No,
Zach,
you know what's hard too is that a lot of parents don't buy into that right now.
No,
None.
they don't. They don't. But what I'm finding is that if you can connect with the kids on a personal level
Uh-huh.
and really break it down simple for the kids to understand, and they're having fun while doing it, uh, I'm finding the parents they're slowly coming around to that concept.
That's good.
I was gonna say, Zach, if there's a choir for you to preach to, you're on that show right
Yeah.
now. All right,
I'm scratching my head going, I thought everybody wanted to do one-on-one lessons and not and work on 3 hours of shooting when you get to shoot once.
and
I
I'm bringing this up.
That's no doubt. There's a lot of pressure points there, right? Because I think Zach, when we talk, I mean, I virtually every single professional person we talk to about development is speaking like you're speaking, but every program that we see is doing the opposite.
Exactly.
So it's almost like you say, like, who is leading the
Right.
charge
Right.
here in development.
Yeah.
And again, there's the organizations that take advantage of parents that don't know, and then the parents that don't know thinking that this is a better, like you said, it's there's some kid that played high school hockey that's an Instagram phenom teacher, and it looks great because my kid could get more follows. So I think there's a big difference between development and structure and clicks.
I want to say this too, because again, we have been preaching this on the show, Mike. Like you think you'd want to find a way for your kid to stand out. And the thing is, when you're doing what everybody else is doing, you're not going to stand out, and Zach, the other thing too, multiple coaches at the highest levels, like not one, like a lot of them are saying, yeah, hockey IQ is the lowest I've ever seen it in my 10, 20, 30-year coaching career. So logic would dictate. Now, I'm not saying there's a ton of logic in youth sports, but logic would dictate that teaching your kid that side of the game, which you're doing, Zach, is really invaluable. I can tell you right now, we're recording this episode kind of like in the eval season, right? The eval and the tryout season.
Yeah.
And I know a very talented player that did not make the team he wanted to make. And the reason was, and I read it, was did not pass the puck one time, tried to dangle through everyone.
That's
and
right.
he can do it. And it's like just not what we're looking for. It's not what we need right now. This kid needs more development. So I agree with you, Zach. I think the tide, we got a long way to go, Mike, to your point. I think the tide is starting to turn. That the ability, and this is the thing, Zach, that I try and preach to the parents and the kids. The game is so beautiful when you see the full chess match and not just the one piece. Like when you can see that symphony, I mean, it's still kind of a simple game in a lot of ways, but it's so beautiful. I said, if you can learn that, and it starts at 6U and 8U by reminding parents and kids that assists are worth just as much as goals, and then developing to that. I love that you like to watch hockey highlights. Most plays are not that play, and that you've got to look beyond it. And then again, in the coaching, Zach, like you just said, creating the environments in practice where the reward, Mike says this all the time, the reward is not scoring the goal. The reward is a team play. Mike made a great point on a previous episode. The finish of every drill doesn't need to be a shot on net.
That's right.
It doesn't have to be the goal. It can, like you said, like understanding the neutral zone transition. What a win. I'm actually turning this into a question. Or go ahead,
well,
Christine. Yeah.
I think there's a lot more to talk about with his coaching career, but I think we would be remiss not to dive a little bit and hit the reverse button and talk about your career in the NHL. 11 years. Do you have a favorite memory, a couple of moments that just you hold close to your heart that you could share with us?
And why don't you age?
Why don't you age?
Yeah.
You look like a kid.
I'm trying to have the beard disguise my baby face.
Me too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Honestly, it was. I was a Flyer fan growing up as a kid, like diehard. I was an Eric Lindros fan, and all the Philadelphia people, all the Flyer fans, the organization knows this. I grew up a Flyer fan, 8 years old. I had a Flyer birthday cake.
Oh wow.
Nothing more I love doing than watching Eric Lindros score goals, hit people, forecheck, and just play his game. So number one, just being drafted to the Flyers was literally a dream come true. And then making the team and putting that jersey on for the first time, playing my first game in the playoffs, I lined up against Mark Recchi. Like that is just really surreal to a degree for me. But the number one thing is what an award that I won in Philadelphia, the Gene Hart Memorial Award, that is voted by the fans, that they vote on who the player played with the most heart during that season. For me, I take pride in my work ethic. I take pride I definitely still will always take pride in wearing that jersey and giving my heart and soul to that team. So being acknowledged, not just by the organization, but by the fans to deserve that award, that whole day, that night, that award, I'll forever be grateful and thankful for. That was number one. Number two, just just all the arenas and just the feeling. It's not necessarily one point, it wasn't one goal or one hit. It was just a feeling that I got from just living the whole life and playing in those arenas, and the emotion that I got before games. And to be honest with you, I loved hitting people. I loved that. Was just, it came so easy to me, like like Connor McDavid or Matthews or Ovechkin. Goals come easy for them. They know how to find the ice, they know how to shoot, they know where to be. Hitting came so easy to me. I knew where the play was going to, I know how the play was going to develop. I knew who was going to get the puck before they got it, so I can set myself up to be there before they got it. That is an art that I was born with. That is an art that is lost. And for me, I was just very thankful that I could do something I love to do, which is be physical and be rewarded for it and be seen for it. So yeah, between the Gene Hart Memorial, being drafted by the Flyers, and just doing what I'd love to do, was bringing a physical, fast presence on the ice and being rewarded for it. Everything, the whole career was awesome.
Yeah,
I got to say, as the resident Flyers fan here, there's certain athletes you look at, Zach, and you go, that guy's a Flyer. and you were one of them from the start. And what's cool is that I always joke at this point of the episode, we get a lot of eye rolls from non-Flyers fans. I'm just like, but nobody likes us and we don't care. And that really is kind of the attitude. But one of the things you did so well here, in addition to your play, was you made a connection with the fans, right? So I actually do want to ask a question of, is there an importance to that? How can athletes look to do that? Where is your gauge on that? Because you look like it's no surprise that winning that Hart Memorial, what you're saying, you really did make an impact and a connection, and people remember you here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I can't say that about every athlete that's ever played here. Like, people remember you. So how do you make that connection? How important is that connection?
That connection is number one for me. That started in my OHL career, when, again, because I portray this character on the ice, that I'm unpredictable, that I'm a loose cannon, and a lot of people thought that's who I was off the ice. So when I started to hear people, like, this has started definitely in London, when we were doing autograph sessions after games or public appearances, and I was nice to people, and people would say, "Oh my God, you're so nice," and I'm thinking, well, yeah, like, why wouldn't I be nice? Like, right? But because they're thinking that's who I am on the ice. So I'm mean and I'm rough on the ice. So why would I be nice off the ice? So that really hit me hard. So I really wanted to make a connection with everybody and the team and the organization and the city and the town that I was playing in, that like I'm actually genuinely a good person. Who I am on the ice, that's who I am on the ice. But off the ice, I'm grounded. I'm down to earth. I work hard, just like the blue collar people in Philadelphia. I'm the same. I'm the same as you guys. But when I go on the ice, I'm a different animal. I'm a
Yeah,
different
alter
breed,
ego.
and
Yeah,
that's
right.
correct. So when I played for different teams and I played for different organizations, getting connected inside of the community and inside of the organization was number one, because if they understood who I was as a person, they would probably like me more as a player. So that's why I always went into town a month and a half before training camp, so they can get to know me, so they can see my personality off the ice, in the dressing room, in the weight room, away from the rink. To now, okay, he's totally different. So when I get on the ice, he's this way, but off the ice, he's a totally different way. But connecting inside of the community is number one, because you get the support from the fans, you get support from the organization. It just the level of respect you get, just doing those things, is heartwarming. It's fulfilling. It's everything. That's what a pro athlete does. You give back to the community. That's what you do. The first thing I always wanted to do when I made the NHL is come back and put a community event on, and I did that for 5 years in a row. Again, that just comes with the territory of being a pro athlete. Give back, because again, it's just what it is. It's just what you do. It's just the right thing to do.
Yeah, Zach, can you talk about that a little bit from like the youth hockey perspective? On, I mean, it certainly sounds like you knew your role, and you knew that your role on that team wasn't, not that you wouldn't want to score a ton of goals, right? But that your role wasn't to score goals on the teams you played on. Your role sounded more like it was something to get the team going, get your
Right.
line mates involved, get your team to change momentum, and just maybe for the youth hockey kids listening, and actually probably coaches too. Because I mean, giving the accolades to just a kid that put the puck in the net, or maybe just a goalie that makes some saves. What we lack, I think, in today's youth game is like the ability for players to be in a role, to understand that you don't have to be like this person, this persona off the ice different than on the ice, or vice versa. Like you could be like, I love, like, that's probably why I love like high school hockey and teams when you can play, college hockey, like teams that you could play for longer periods of time. Because people that love those teams and coaches that coach those teams get to really start to see all the different pieces that are involved in winning, and see, and so maybe just real quick for you, just from the youth hockey perspective, for a youth player to understand that, okay, maybe you're not seen as the guy who's going to get put on the power play all the time, but what can you do mentally to prepare yourself to show that, listen, I'm going to be a team guy here, and I'm also going to get embraced by my teammates, and in our case, parents. And I love listening to parents say, "Oh, we're really going to miss that player." No
Right.
points, maybe took a couple of bad penalties. You never really made an impact on like changing the game, like didn't win any
Right.
big game with goals. But everybody's going to miss that player because they did something in that locker room and on the ice that
Yeah.
contributed to team success.
Yeah, that's right. Like, so for me, growing up, I was a captain of all my teams. I scored goals. I hit. I kind of did it all. But when I got drafted, I was a 14th round pick to the OHL. So me personally, I had to adapt. I wasn't going to outscore the first rounder. Like, it just realistically, that's what it is. So I had to just rely on other tools that I had in my toolbox. That's why I think it's so important. Going back to that individual skill development, we need to, and players need to understand that you need to have so many tools in your toolbox, so that you can pull out whatever tools you need to fit in. I think we're so focused on, and I have the same problem with a lot of my guys on my team. It's really hard for them to accept third line, fourth line roles, because everyone wants to be the same player, and not there's not one person in the world that is the same as the next. So how can you be the same? How can we have a team of 25 kids trying to do the exact same thing. It won't work. You won't have a winning team. You won't be successful. I won't be successful as a coach. You guys won't be successful as a team. You won't win. You won't get scouts. You won't get noticed. You won't move on. So that's why it's so important for kids to understand that you need to have so many different unique tools in your toolbox. Because if you go to a team and the coach says, all right, I need you killing penalties, I need you being physical, dump the puck in, forecheck. And when you get offensive opportunities, try to capitalize offensive opportunities. That's hard for kids to get into right now. And I struggle with telling kids that that's going to be their role because I know they won't accept it. So I have to make it, and it is honestly, it's up to the coaches right now in this day and age. It is up to the coaches to make it, to make it sexy. You have to show that these kids like doing that's fun. That's what's going to get you to the next level. That's what's going to help the team thrive. And sometimes you need to dangle a certain carrot in front of them and show them video and praise them in video. And you have to praise these kids these days, which is fine. It's all good and dandy, but that coach 100% is going to be the person that dictates that kid buying into that role or not. So again, it's onto the kids to accept it. You can bring the kids to the water, but they have to drink. But again, every player, starting from the grassroots all the way up, they need to work on fine tuning all parts of their game. So when that coach says, "Hey, I need you doing this and that," he's like, "Okay, no problem. I can do this and that. All right, here we go."
Yeah, and your actions, right? That has to come, like you're saying, from the coach. Like that coach has to embrace those shot blocks, those gritty plays in the corner, those first guys on pucks on power, on forecheck. Like if you mirror that, like you say, like this is what I value, then your players not only will they love being that player, right? They like that's why like I've never understood like picking a team. Like we've talked about this hundreds of times. Like you pick a team and then you don't play all the kids. I'm like, well, then why'd you pick the team? Like your job is to get those other kids to play. Now, maybe they don't play, 55 shifts, but they have to have a role, or you don't get them back and they don't develop. And what the hell? You're not even coaching then. You're just managing, getting a kid in and getting a kid out. So I think emotions. I love, so if you're a coach and you're listening to Zach right now, it's like find a way to get every one of those players to understand where they fit in the team, but then you have to sell it to your team. Yeah. Because like I love when I see, and I see this on my own kids' teams. Like I love it when my son says, "Coach, you got to put so-and-so in. Like he hasn't gotten any ice time." And me as a parent, I'm like, "Well, screw that kid. Get all the ice time you can. You should be on the ice every shift." But he knows, in 15 games, I might not be here, or I might get hurt, or I might not. Maybe I'm not sick that day. You got to have a player that that feels they have value, that can jump in and give you some effort. And I don't think you can do that if you just put the kids on the end of the pine, if they even have pine anymore, maybe on the end of the plastic, and just have them sit there and be like, okay, I'm part of a team. Are you really part of a team? It doesn't seem like you are.
Yeah, no, I think, and that's where I think some coaches fall short, where they don't want, like for me, reloading was the key to our success. As soon as my team bought into reloading, which is, essentially back checking, but just staying above the puck in all situations, reloading hard. That was the key to our success when we were starting to, win a lot of games at the end of the year. But then I had to go into video and I had to find us reloading. And that, as a coach, I'm still, I'm trying to understand the whole coaching world, and it's challenging for a coach to go in to a video, to watch your game back, to find reload clips. Like that's challenging. That's not easy for a coach. You have to sift through all these shifts just to find good work ethic on the reloads, clip it, and then show it and praise that. And that's where I think some coaches fall short, because the easiest thing is to find the highlight reels and praise the guys that have the puck. But it's hard for a coach, and it's a lot of work and time consuming to sift through the game and clip things that aren't sexy, to be honest with you. But it's those little details that you need to praise these role players, these character players. You need to praise them with those moments in the video to instill their confidence that they're doing the right thing. And for me, one example, when I was in Calgary, we were playing San Jose, and one of the players on San Jose was coming by our bench, and he was chirping our bench, and Kachuk, he went to our coach. He was like, why aren't you putting Zach on? Like, what is going on here? Like, you need to put Zach on right now. I looked up to the coach. I'm like, he's right. Like, why aren't you putting me out there? So he put me out there. I asked the player to fight. The player declined. He got scared. He didn't cover me defensively. I got the puck. I shot. I scored. So it does trickle down into the team to notice, like, hey, we're losing or we're winning. Let's put some of these guys on. And that communication between players and coaches needs to also exist as well.
Yeah.
That's a healthy
And
bench.
I'll say too that in youth hockey, parents, you play a role in helping your kids.
Oh,
I say,
absolutely.
understand that role. Now, here's the thing, and I was going to say this. I've been writing notes. Roles are insanely important on a hockey team at most ages, right? Again, when you're at the 6U, 8U, you're going to play every single role. That you have to, right?
Yeah.
But as you get older, I always said this to my players: you don't have to love your role, but you're lucky or fortunate to have a role, right? Like a role means you're part of the team, right? Mm-hmm. And as you said, it's all experience, it's all learning. All right. If you think you're a goal scorer and your coach is asking you to be, a bottom 6 forechecker, I know that's not what you want, but it's an important role for the team. And just to give the parents listening an idea, I was with a 10U team last year. We created roles and we didn't hide it. We knew who our goal scorers were, right? And I'm not going to tell someone who's developing heavily, you need to be like them. No, we're going to work to help you get them the puck, or work to be a better defensive player in our zone, because that's what we need to do. And there's nothing worse than working on that as a coach and a parent telling their kid who really is not a goal scorer, well, you're a goal scorer and you should be on the first line. You're not helping at all. And I can tell you, parents, there's no path. If your dream, kids and parents, if your dream is to play at a high level, there's no high level where you don't have a role. All right. And there's no high level where you're probably going to get a role that you just love, or that you think that it's you. You've got to adapt. The best example of this is Steve Yzerman. Again, for the younger fans and younger parents out there, you might not remember this. This guy was a goal-scoring magician the first half of his career. And then he transformed into a defensive forward under Scotty Bowman and won a bunch of cups. He completely changed the way he played hockey. Mm-hmm. This is one of the greatest players of all time, changing his role for his team. So it happens, all right? So I just, Zach, I'll let you kind of have the final thought on the topic, but it's like, it's okay to establish roles, coaches. You got to be realistic with them. And again, when the kids are young, it's not about locking them into one thing. You got to develop them, but it's okay to have roles and learn from that.
Right. And we highly encourage parents, if you don't get what is going on, if the dynamics don't seem right to you, you understand what your kid's role is, rather than undermine what the coach is trying to do.
Texting them on the bench, right, Mike? Yeah.
You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. I think, and Zach, I think you're and Lee brought it up too, right? Roles evolve. Your role in September might not be your role. You earn your role. Right. If you really are goal scorer, earn it. Then figure out a way to say, what the hell am I doing that my coach and the other 16 players on my team don't think that that's who I am. Like, so, accomplish, and you then get up the chain of command. You start to work and develop different skill set, adding to your toolbox. Like, who knows what your role is going to be. But I think having the diversity of ability and having the diversity of turning your brain and being something that maybe you don't want to be today is going to help you be a different player tomorrow, is really all the evolution of why we do this, right? If you're a coach, your job is to evolve that player and to play different parts. Now, because we see it all the time, there's a million first-line centermen, but we can only take one. So if you can't be a third-line centerman, you get cut. There's no room for you on the team, because and I've seen this in evaluation processes a lot, right? That, well, he's got to be in the top 7, right? He might be, but in our team, he doesn't fit in to the top 7. And you'll never accept the bottom 3 role. If you never accept that, you get cut and you get moved on. And be the great player on a different team, but on this team, I need you to buy in, like to your saying. And I love the fact that you have that you're talking about your teammates saying, we know this guy's role.
That's right.
Get him out there. Like, help help me.
That
right.
Kachuk guy
Yeah.
might be pretty good. I'm told the Kachuk guy you were talking about.
Seems like, yeah, he's a good you know, he's had a good hand. Well, he knows how to talk to coaches. But I think if you're just in a great, it's a great opportunity, I think, for young kids too, to say, you know, if I'm the player if I think I'm the best player on the ice, I have so much power over my coach. I can help my teammates. Like, be the kid that can help your teammate succeed. Because I'll tell you, like Zach, I'm sure you would do anything for that player. Like, after that player said, "You got to put Zach out there," I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna."
Well, that's why I went out there. That's why I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." Like 100%. I already knew that I should have been out there.
Right, but I'm going to make you look good. Like, you
That's
stepping up and saying this, I'm going to make you look good. And I think there's nothing better for a player to feel like that bench piece is there where I'm supporting you because you're supporting me. You know, I did my job. Now you go out and do your job.
That's right.
This is so much lacking today in building these mercenary super teams because everybody thinks they're the same kid. Right. And yes, maybe can you win a couple of games down the road? But you know, when it all comes to why I think a lot of parents want their kids to play sport, it's to keep climbing the ladder and being a better person and using sport to help them be that. Then you've got to learn that, well, hey, there's you know, it's why, you know, janitors can become CEOs, right? You have to know, like, where am I starting so that I can develop into somebody better.
That's right. Like I love putting some of my players in adversity on purpose. That needs to happen. You know, if I had a couple of incidents this year where, you know, my couple of the top 6 guys, they got hurt or they were sick and they missed a week of practice, they missed a handful of games, and they come back into the dressing room and they see the lineup and on the 4th line. Well, someone else stepped into your spot and they were successful in that spot. So now you're a first line guy, but now you're going to go through a little adversity. Now you're going to learn certain tools on that 4th line role. Now you got to forecheck. Now you got to be a little more hungry on the pucks. Now you got to really play good defensively. So once I see that happening, okay, now you're back up to where you really need to be, but you've learned a little bit. You've learned some forechecking. You've learned a little bit of grind. You learned a little bit of that. And now you can bring what you learned back up to that first line, and now you're a better player for it. So I think coaches need to put kids into challenging adversity spots to see how they handle it and you know, have them go through a little bit of turmoil before they go back to where they need to be.
Do you get some pushback on that? And do you explain to them what's going on, or you let them figure it out?
It depends on who the player is and who they are as a person. Sometimes I just put them there to see how they are going to handle it. I know what I'm doing the whole time. I'm not just blind to the fact. But sometimes I know the kid is emotional. I know he's going to be pissed off, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. So then it's up to that player. If he's upset, if he, you know, if he hates me for it, come talk to me. Knock on my door. I have an open door policy. No problem. Come talk to me. Tell me your frustrations. Tell me you're mad at me. Tell me you're pissed. Tell me, you know, let me know how mad you are, because then I can see your passion. Because then I'll tell you what I want to see from you, and we move forward from there. Like, it's not a matter of if they get back there. It's just a matter of when.
Right. And I think that's really important, that players need to step up and have those conversations. A lot of them might just kind of hold it in and like you said, just hate on you.
Right.
Where they could, they need some help figuring it out. Don't be afraid
a lot
to
of them
step
do
up and talk to the coach. Yeah.
A lot of them think that a lot of coaches are mind readers.
Right.
And you know, then I'll see if they don't come talk to me, and I see their body language, and they're moping around the room, and they're not vocal on the ice, and they're not trying on the ice. But at the same time, you know, I'm dealing with, you know, 16 to 20-year-olds, so it's a little different, where they need to struggle on their own sometimes. They need to figure things out on their own sometimes. And if that takes 2 or 3 days without communication, and he's going through a negative body language week of practice, then he needs to go through that without me holding his hand, without me going to him all the time. He needs to take some initiative. He needs to think about it. He needs to digest it. He needs to go through those emotional waves. But at a certain point, he hasn't come talk to me and he's still dealing with it. Then I'll bring him in. We'll talk about it and we'll figure it out. But I do want my players to go through adversity in the right moments of their life, in the right moments of the season,
Right.
to create a strong character, a strong foundation. Again, these kids they're kids still. They're still growing. They're still learning. They're still in puberty, realistically. So they're
Right.
learning a lot about themselves. And I'm just a part of their journey and helping them move along through adversity realistically.
I think
That's
that's
good
one of the
coaching.
biggest anxiety. That's one of the biggest anxieties, right? As a coach, sometimes is knowing when and if to push buttons on when and who you can do it with. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that just throw stuff on the wall and say, I hope that sticks there.
Right.
But
Right.
it's really so important to know your kids and say, am I doing this for head games? Am I doing this for motivation? Am I doing this just to see, geez, can I get something out of this kid, like one way or the other? But knowing that, there's other kids though that just, I think it's just the ability to see when I'm doing this, do I know when to pull the plug?
Right.
And not go to a point where now I've lost the player.
That's the
That's
art.
right.
And I think that's the art of coaching.
That's
I mean,
the
that's
art
why,
of coaching.
that's why
Yeah.
some people coach and some people don't.
Well,
Yeah, and I
exactly.
think like you might,
Yeah.
good coaches are able to, sometimes they might go too far and leave it for an extra day. But I think a good coach, even if you have lost that player, the conversation you have to get that player back, you need to be very sympathetic. You need to be very open-minded. You need to be almost apologetic if you've lost that player to a degree. Like I have no problem. I'm saying like, hey, sorry, I probably should have thrown you back into the situation a day earlier. That I think if you show the human side of you as a coach, it just brings that player back down to earth, brings that player back in. He might not get the full buy-in right away, but slowly he'll back to understand, especially if he's back to that first line. He's playing good. He's back on the power play. He's feeling good. Because at the end of it, when that player does break through the barrier, when that player goes from that fourth line back up to the first line, starts succeeding, then you bring him in again. And it's like, can I swear on here? Or I'm good?
Go for it.
Yeah. And then it's like, right, kid. Like I knew you could do it. Like you just battle through a little bit of shit. It's all good, man. I'm so proud of you. Let's keep moving forward. Then they're on top of the world. And if they go through adversity anywhere else in their life, they'll probably remember that moment. It's going to be all good. I'll battle through it.
Yeah, we can beep anything on here, buddy. Don't worry.
There's finally somebody swore in this.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, you're fine. But Zach, listen, you sound like a tremendous coach, and I love that you just said the empathy and the sympathy and being able to apologize. Because I really do think that's where coaching is going, is having a human side to it, with the understanding that look, I'm the coach, I'm the one who makes the decisions, but we can all grow together here. I think we had Mike Keenan on the show recently, who is a very old school coach, and even he at this point of his life was talking about. Yeah, I was very clear, and I would push buttons, but I cared about my players, and he didn't have a problem saying that.
No.
So, listen, I loved every aspect of the show today, man. You really covered everything. We got to finish. We get some quick rapid fire questions for you, if that's okay.
Okay, you want
Christy,
me to start?
You go for it, Christy. Christy loves rapid fire. She loves it.
Well,
go ahead.
Kind of already did the first one as far as favorite memory, so we covered that. So let's do number 2. Most underrated skill in hockey today. Go.
50-50 puck battles.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one we don't hear too often. I like that.
Yep.
The other one we're going to ask you, buddy, is this. I mean, this is a loaded question. I'm not going to lie to you, but one piece of advice you give every young hockey player you coach.
Play every shift like it's your last.
That's
every shift.
Yeah.
That was instilled in me at 8 years old. Every shift has to play like it's your last, because you don't know if you're going to get another one. You might get hurt. You might get benched. You need to play every shift like it's going to be your last, and you need to make an impression every single time you're out there. I grew up, I was told, my dad had a different philosophy. It was one big hit every single shift. And that's done from 8 years old, because it was contact 8 years old. So every shift I was trying to make an impact in anything I was doing. And today's society, I see a lot of kids taking shifts off. Just be satisfied with nothing shifts. Take nothing shifts. That's okay, but play every shift like it's your last.
I love it, Zach. You know what? I can feel the gratitude in you for the game in the way you're saying that. And I think that's a wonderful way to end the episode. So, Zac Rinaldo, wow. Great episode today, man. We did that in 50 minutes.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks
no
so much
problem.
for being
I like this a lot. This is cool. This is great.
Well, we're going to keep you on for the ride to the rink, so don't go anywhere yet, all right? And listen, I'll end this episode, gang. Thanks for listening. Remember, your kids, they have that ride to the rink episode coming out Thursday, so make sure you listen to that. For Christy Casciano Burns, Mike Benelli, I'm Lee Elias, Zac Rinaldo here today. Thanks for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. See you next time. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.